It happens every year for every team, whether they admit it or not, but sometimes you just got your guys. Today, we're going to talk about Eric Crocker's guys and my guys. See who comes out on top. Welcome to Locked On NFL Draft.
Let's go.
You are Locked On NFL Draft, your daily podcast covering the NFL Draft. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to another episode of the Locked On NFL Draft Show. I am your host, former NFL and AFL defensive back, Eric Crocker. And of course, as always, I'm joined by my guy, my co-host, Ryan Tracy. He's Ryan Tracy NFL on Twitter. I'm at Eric_Crocker on Twitter. And we want to thank you for making us your first listen of the day. Today, we're getting into it. And Ryan kind of alluded to it already. We're talking about my guys, and not just my guys, his guys, my guys, your guys, the guys who we would stand on a table for if we were in one of those war rooms. Now, obviously, we're not getting paid to do that, but nope. We are getting paid to talk about this for you guys. So, you know what, Ryan? Start with you. Who's that one guy right away that just kind of jumps out? And whether it's a popular opinion or not, that you just, you know what, I just love this guy.
It's tough for me because I love him, and I don't know what I would do with him because it is a fit. It is a projection. But the guy that stands out to me is because I love the fire. He's got the athleticism to really prove it. But for me, if you need somebody to go make a play and use all that, like light him up and set him free, it's Channing Tindall for me, the linebacker from Georgia. And you saw it in the championship game. Had a bad rep. Nakobe Dean had to light him up a little bit. Really, get him fired up. Like he needs a little boost, right? And that's okay. And he went out there, and that was like what? It was like 19 yards on the ground to go attack the quarterback, make a big play in a serious situation. That's the kind of stuff that doesn't grow on trees for me. Like you got to have that in your DNA to be able to pull that off. And that's what I'm looking for. So Channing Tindall is my guy.
Yeah, I mean, in one of the plays you're talking about, man, guy just closing space on the quarterback in the open field like that, especially against quarterback like Bryce Young, who can be a little slippery at times. He's almost kind of Russell Wilson-esque in the way that he plays. But, yeah, to see a linebacker out there in space to show that type of athleticism, I think, that is ideal. Not just, obviously, in that play, but, I mean, he showed that throughout the year. And it's interesting. A lot of people are talking about the linebacker next to him with Nakobe Dean. A lot of people are talking about the linebacker on the other side, Harris, who was playing out for Alabama in that game. But Tindall, a guy that's kind of been flying under the radar. If you had to say right now, and I know this is our guys and guys we're standing on the table for, where would you feel comfortable drafting them?
I think he can make it into the second round. I'm comfortable with that for me, especially if I'm covering the team that I'm picking that has the pick at either 50 or 62. I'm okay with that. The question for me in the Chiefs case in particular is the fit, given the fact that they have Willie Gay Jr. and they have Nick Bolton. It makes it a little bit more difficult. So if I'm another team that needs a playmaker at that level, I'm comfortable all the way up to the 50 range, maybe even, I could go 47 or something like that, because I think Quay Walker has the same issue, right? Quay Walker's a better player than he appears because of Nakobe Dean's presence, because he's so overbearing with what he takes off the film. So I think both those guys are high second round picks that can actually make an impact for a team this year.
Man, that team is loaded, right? I mean, you're talking about Tindall, you're talking about Quay Walker. I mean, obviously Nakobe Dean, and then you look at just who they had across that defensive line, and some of the guys they had in the secondary. Lewis Seen, he's my favorite safety in this class, and that's a guy that's flying around as well. So a lot of draftable guys coming out of that defense. The guy that I'm going to stand on the table for right now is Roger Mcqueary, cornerback out of Auburn. And I wanted to start with a different position, but it's like, no, you got to start with Roger Mcqueary, because this is a guy who I feel like is kind of being overlooked throughout this process. If you would have asked me, I don't know, a couple of months ago, I'd say, oh, he's a first round lock for sure with what he showed on film. And then you kind of fast forward now to, he runs at the combine, doesn't run very well, but he goes to his pro day. He obviously runs better, but then you get the measurables on him, and he had the shorter arms, and he's already kind of slight built. How are teams going to start to view him? But if I'm in the war room And again, the only thing that gives me a little pause here is a couple years ago, there's a cornerback coming out of Ohio State named Damon Arnett. And Arnett was another guy who, like Roger Mcqueary, I really liked his film. I said, you know what? His film says day one, but some of the measurables and how teams might think that translates to the next level, that says more late day two. And Arnett ended up going first round, I believe it was like 19th overall or in that range to the Las Vegas Raiders. Clearly hasn't worked out. Now, for the reasons why I think his didn't work out, I mean, got some off the field things going on there.
Right.
And I haven't heard anything, too crazy about Roger Mcqueary. But when you just look at the film and what he's able to do and the versatility of it, it's really good. I mean, he ran the 4.55, I believe it was, at the combine. But when you watch him run vertical with guys like, Jamison Williams, to show that type of speed, especially on like slot fades where receivers have all this space, that's big time. He also did it against John Mechie. He mirror and matched those guys wherever they went. If you are someone who's more of like a stat watcher, you might look at the numbers and say, oh man, he gave up 5 catches for X amount of yards, but you don't really look at how it happened. There were some times where they motioned guys down to a bunch and ran those guys through traffic, and Mcqueary ended up getting picked by like 2-3 guys, and now the receiver's wide open and running by himself, and he'll get dinged with that again, for like PFF or any of these other analytical tracking websites. But if you just watch it and you're just going off of ability and how you can utilize him, he can play outside, he can play in the slot. So watch him at the Senior Bowl. He was locked down on the outside. He was locked down in the slot. Didn't matter. To me, that's a guy I would definitely stand on the table for, especially early day two. If he's not going first round, which the team might still like him. Remember Mike Hughes a few years ago coming out of UCF where he didn't run very well at the combine, but he still went first round. I'm thinking maybe Roger Mcqueary can be that same kind of guy.
I think he can. He has all the pieces to it, and he has probably something that I have as well. And I know that doesn't sound right to you guys, but anybody can have AG1 from Athletic Greens. That's what you want because it gives you everything you need. 75 high quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens. Everything that you need. It helps you with energy, with recovery, with focus, even with aging. God knows I need that. Eric Crocker's, a much prettier person than me at this point in our lives. That's okay. But it helps you with all of it. It helps your digestion. It helps everything that you need to get through your daily life and actually feel and run better. That's the way that it works. And I actually drink a lot of coffee. I enjoy the fact that the dose for that on a daily level is just about the same as a cup of coffee. And I can live with that. I like that. It's super simple. You take 1 scoop of the AG1 powder, you put it in a cup of cold water, and you're set to go. It's easy. It's on the go. It doesn't slow your life down. It gives you everything that you need. I actually like it with cold brew, to tell you the truth. So I like that as well. And right now they're giving you another way to reclaim your immune system and boost yourself in a convenient daily nutrition supplement that is easy to get to. And they're giving you some extras as well. If you sign up right now, Athletic Greens is giving you a free 1-year supply of their vitamin D droplets that come in handy, as well as 5 free travel packs of the AG1 product that you need all the time. All you have to do is go to athleticgreens.com/NFL network. Yes, that is athleticgreens.com/NFL network, not the NFL network, but you know what I mean, to take ownership of your health and your immune system and get your daily nutritional balance. Go check out AG1. And then, you have some other things that you could do. You could put some money on the line. You could be like Eric Crocker, lay those parlays. There's stuff to be done, especially with all the draft props. There's baseball, there's hockey, there's all the major sports, even the ones that we don't talk about very often. That's okay. You can even do MMA, and I think that's kind of the interesting stuff. But the props on the draft in particular drive me insane. The odds for both the San Francisco 49ers that you can see proudly displayed right there, as well as the Kansas City Chiefs, are changing, and you want to check those out as well. If you want your money on the line in a smart way, you get all the podcasts, all the info, all the updates, and it's all in one place. You can get there from any device at any website, and it is BetOnline where the game starts. Let's see. Do you have another? Are you going to stay DB, or who's your guy that you want to see on your roster?
No, I'm actually not going to stay DB on this one, and I'm going to go with David Ojabo. All right, edge rusher out of Michigan. And here's what I'm standing on the table for. I know a lot of people are scared off because he had the Achilles injury during his pro day workout. And they're frightened. And now I'm hearing He's going to go second round. He's going to go maybe even late second round. Some people are like, oh, will he potentially go third round? There are a lot of people that were worried about, well, he already was a guy that was kind of raw. You hear guys throw that around a lot. He's raw as a pass rusher, 1 year production and all that. And I say, you know what? I don't care about anything that any of these people are talking about right now. Obviously, a very significant injury, but he's young. He's talented. These guys are freaks in the NFL. He will recover. And when you draft these guys, is it for the right now? Like, does a guy have to hit the ground running? And if he's not productive by week 8 of his rookie year, oh, it was a wasted pick? No, this is a long-term play when you go after a guy like David Ojabo. This is a guy that I'm looking to be an edge rusher for my team for the next 8 to 10 years. So if that's my thinking, I'm not going to worry so much about an injury that might, kind of, I don't want to say derail his rookie year, but make him miss some time, right? He can miss half the season. Hell, there is a scenario where he misses the entire season. But I'm going to bet on the upside and what I saw on film. And he needs work against the run. He does. But in the NFL right now, you need guys that can get after the passer and do that consistently. And here's a guy, when you see him coming off of the edge and some of the moves that he starts to give people and the spin moves and his relentlessness to get after the quarterback and the way he's able to close, and it doesn't matter. I mean, I watched him close on an athletic quarterback, just let alone a guy who's just kind of sitting in the pocket. There was a play watching against Indiana where they were trying to throw a screen by him. You know how they let everybody in and, okay, go ahead and we're going to leak out. But he got to the quarterback so fast, he threw off the entire play. He is a freak coming off that edge. He reminds me a ton of prime D Ford, right? Like when D Ford was playing at that high level, coming off that edge really quick with speed. And we didn't see a whole lot of prime D Ford. But when we did, it was good. It was a really good speed guy coming off the edge. And when I look at Ojabo, I just believe that that's a guy, he can be that. So, again, if I'm a team, and if I see him anywhere near the second round, I am GM, we got to go get this guy. We got to go get Ojabo. And trust in your medical staff that everything's going to go along great and he's going to recover fine. And hell, if you are a team that is pushing towards the playoffs, I think he can be that extra boost you need just to give you over the top.
I like it. I'm going to stay with your same position because there's another guy that's got a very similar story. Speed rusher off the edge, raw, needs to work on hand skills, needs to work against the run, but he's got some instincts. And he's 1/3 of the triumvirate, the law firm of Zappy, Stearns, and Malone. D'Angelo Malone is a guy that is being overlooked for similar reasons, but not because he's injured. It's just because he played at a small school. He's got everything you want. First step, the ability to adjust. He's got better moves than you want. He's got a baby cross chop that is deadly if you get him going. I am really looking forward to seeing what he can do at the next level. And it's because when you play at Western Kentucky, there's a certain level of expectation. And just like David Ojabo, he is an athlete first that is learning to play the edge rusher spot. But I think he's got the upside. I think he's got the explosiveness that is very, very hard to match, not only in this class, but on the field in the NFL. You look at some of the teams that have really put that effort into getting young players like Josh Allen, like Brian Burns. Like there are pieces of both of those players in the game that D'Angelo Malone brings to the table. And this is a guy, like you said, I don't care if it's the third and you got to get him with your comp pick. I don't care if it's the fifth and everyone else is sleeping on him. You have to get him on this roster somehow. He won't last forever, so he's not a UDFA. You got to get him here because he will help you. Even if you're a team like the Kansas City Chiefs that want to use power edges, that want to set that tone, he needs to learn to do that. But in sub packages alone, he can give you the speed rush that you cannot find everywhere else. He's a guy I got to have. I got to have him on my roster. And there are more. We're going to tell you about a few more of them in just a minute. Because first, we got to get the rest of the parts that we need. And for me, that always goes into like tailgates on my truck, backup lights that I have a tendency to smash. The bed of my truck is always tore up, so you get the nice like rail caps. You can find all that at rockauto.com. It doesn't matter if you drive a big diesel like me or a nice speed car like Eric here, because I can't get those tickets no more. You can find everything you need for either of those over at rockauto.com, and you'll save money, even like 100% of the money. You don't have to wait around for what they have stocked. You can get what you need when you need it, even down to the carpeting in the back seat that I probably spilled the coffee on, to tell you the truth. That's probably a real story. They're a family business. They've been in business forever. You can trust what they do. All you have to do is put your stuff into the cart. Let them know that we sent you by putting our name in the "How did you hear about us" box. That's great for them. You can have amazing selection, reliably low prices, and all the parts your car's ever going to need over at rockauto.com. Now, parts go into every roster, and you got to fit the small pieces in too. So who are some of the guys that maybe we don't talk about enough because we're busy talking about all the big, huge names? Who's your guys?
I don't know if this guy classifies as a big name guy because we have kind of mentioned him because he was the guy who stood out for me at the Senior Bowl. But I think when you lump in with all the other receivers, I think that's where he kind of separates himself a little bit. And that's Calvin Austin. All right. He's small in stature, but big in play. And a guy that went and blew away the combine. I mean, extremely explosive. But to me, it goes back to the Senior Bowl and what I saw throughout that week. And it was a guy that you just could not cover. Now, teams might shy away from him because he's tiny. I mean, we're talking about a guy who is barely 5'8", 175 pounds, soaking wet. But he's extremely explosive. And if you're looking for a receiver that can affect the game in multiple phases and multiple areas of the field, where they line up outside, inside, where he's a returner, this is the guy that can do that. And, similar in the sense of, a guy like Mecole Hardman, right? Who I think Mecole Hardman was a little bit more of just a pure speed guy. When I watch a guy like Calvin Austin, especially at the Senior Bowl, and how guys tried to defend him, they couldn't figure it out. I mean, they were playing him on the outside. And they're like, all right, well, let's get hands on this little guy. Nope, he blew right by him. Then they're like, okay, man, he's in the slot. I'm just going to play off. Blew right past him. Then they're playing him press again. And the guy's like, all right, I'm going to be I'm not going to let him run by me, so I'm going to get upfield shoulder. Then he sat his route down. I mean, he created separation every which way possible and beat guys every which way you could. So, I mean, I walked away thinking, why is this guy not being talked about more? And why is he not talked about in the first round like that? The guy is just a pure size thing because he doesn't have that like some of the other guys. If that's the case, I think some teams are sleeping on someone who can be a legit weapon in the NFL. So that's my next guy that I'm standing on the table for, Calvin Austin out of Memphis.
I like it. You're taking me to each position as we go along because I got a receiver too. And I don't think we've given him any hype on this show, to tell you the truth. But I like what he does, and I think he's going to be overlooked because he played in the UCLA offense that was hit or miss, had a nice running back that kind of took a lot of the spotlight. But if you think that he's just the average lineup in the slot kid that's undersized and doesn't know how to get open, you're mistaken and you're selling him short. Kyle Phillips is a guy that's going to make a roster and he's going to make your team better. He's going to be a relief valve for your quarterback, especially if you got one of those young ones that need to come up a little bit. He can run those pivots and those whips inside. He can do the hard work that has to be done. He's not the fastest. He's not the biggest. He's just a guy that gets the job done. And I like those kinds of guys. I can go to war with that kind of guy on the field for me. I need a couple others, and I'll shift gears on it because the guy inside that I like in the same kind of way, because he showed he can do a little bit of it all, is Cole Strange. And I know that the level of competition at Chattanooga is not exactly what everybody's looking for on every kind of draft sheet, but he's going to put in the work. And he proved at the Senior Bowl that he can hang with the big boys, and it's not a problem. He's versatile. He's athletic enough. He's strong enough, and he's cerebral. He can learn your offense. He can guide the rest of your offensive line unit. He can play guard if you want him to, fill in. He's a guy that needs to be in your top 8 linemen. He will help you win ball games, and that's what it comes down to.
I think one more guy, you talk about, our guys, and maybe a guy that is more of a late round pick, and probably even go after a guy like Cole Strange, is Verone McKinley, safety out of Oregon. All right, this is a guy who, from a measurable standpoint, he's kind of like all the negatives that you want in your safety, aside from what he can do on the field, which is be a playmaker and be a versatile safety in coverage. But, 5'10", 192 pounds, not very big for a safety. Then you couple that with he ran a little bit slower in the 40-yard dash. I believe it was 4.65. That's not ideal for a guy that you want flying around as your single high or two high safety. But I think he plays with very good anticipation, being able to jump routes. He understands when to settle down, and he rode that to the tune of 6 or 7 interceptions this past season. So had a high number of making plays on the ball. That's not even including pass breakups that he had. And he has to play like that. A guy that is a little bit limited from the athletic standpoint, he has to play with more anticipation. And I thought he did that. I think he's a guy, if you just look at him solely on paper with what he is from an athletic standpoint, he's a guy that potentially can go, 5th, 6th, 7th, maybe even undrafted. But I think there is a team that's going to find the value in just the playmaking ability. And again, from there is going to, okay, how does his skill set translate to the NFL? And will he be a liability in coverage? He wasn't on Oregon. NFL is a different monster, but that's something I'm definitely looking forward to seeing.
I like that you bring him up because Jim Nagy agrees with you. When there was a spot at safety, that's who they brought in to fill that roster spot out at Senior Bowl week, to get him some reps because he is a value. And maybe it does go that low. I think he actually gets drafted. Maybe 5th, maybe 6th. I think it's a little bit higher, but because of that playmaking building, we'll see what happens. We want to know who your guys are, though. We've given you ours. Who would you stand on the table for? Leave us in the YouTube comments. Leave it in your iTunes reviews, your Spotify reviews. We would like to have that feedback because, it's been a long off season. We're almost there, but Eric and I would like to know how you like what's going on and who you want to see. There's always curveballs in this draft. You guys are going to have some of them as well. I think we're excited for the end of this particular draft. We're going to be live. Don't miss that. Not only here on this show, but on Roku, on streaming services everywhere. You can find us on the Locked On NFL channel during the draft. If the draft is going, we're going to be on it with a crew of folks from the Locked On Network. I think you guys are really looking forward. I'm looking forward to it, Eric. You're just going to have to carry me through some of it.
No, I'm excited for it, man. Just to be live and be next to my buddy Ryan Tracy once again. I mean, it's been a while, man. Senior Bowl felt like ages ago.
I know, right?
I'm excited to be there in person with you, with our guy Ross and all the Built Bars that they'll have available for us.
We got to keep Croc snacking, folks. That's it for us today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. We will be back with John Harris tomorrow. We're going to get deep into it. And if I know John, we're going to do an either or kind of thing. We'll have to make some decisions. So thank you for listening to us today. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon. We will talk to you tomorrow. Peace.
Peace.
You're better at it than I am.